We all see the eyes through the helmet. We all see that race car driver that sits there and he has that look. Those eyes, every time, I could see the determination and the focus.
He just knew what he was going to do, and he controlled what he can control. And if you want to be the man, right?
Pulls that helmet on, pulls his belts tight, it's on.
And Bryan risked it all, not just at the Indy 500, but every time he strapped on a race car. He knew there were dangers. He knew what the challenges were, and he was never afraid to do that. And that is the spirit of a true race car driver.
Oh, there's Clauson.
Great race driver looks ahead. They instantly know who the players are. They know their tendencies. They understand the racetrack. They take all of that data in a millisecond and make a decision about what to do. That separates the truly great from the really good. I mean, the one percenters. Bryan Clauson was a one percenter.
Well, right now, he's headed for victory lane. Bryan Clauson gets 3 wins in 4 nights. You've got company in the form of Bryan Clauson. He is one of the best open-wheel drivers of our generation. Clauson is absolutely talented.
Nobody in the USAC world ever ran 200 races in one season.
200 races in a 365-day year is insane.
Kind of locked in right now. Feel like I eat, race, sleep, and repeat.
Bryan was the type of person that when he set his mind out to do something, he wanted to accomplish it at the highest level possible.
Bryan Clauson is the man on a mission.
Bryan Clauson wins the 28th win in the Lucas Oil Chili Bowl.
He never wanted to be complacent. He always wanted a challenge. He always wanted something more.
It was like he was a shark, could smell blood in the water at all times.
And big trouble for Bryan Clauson.
That's a guy who just puts the bit between his teeth, and he's not going to stop until that checker drops. He's going to fight you to the very end.
Turns 3 and 4. He gets around Jeremy Ellerts and Kevin Winters throws a white flag. 1 lap to go for Bryan Clauson. Last time he was here, he won the Oval Nationals. He's going to win another Sokola shootout. Checkered flag about to fly. 7th win of the year for Bryan Clauson.
Off a win in Las Vegas, you come here and win tonight. You're on a mission this year, your Circle Insanity Tour, going 200 races. You're off to a great start.
Yeah, absolutely. It's when you surround yourself with great people like I have with Mike Martin and Joe Dooling and Matt Wood, all their race teams. They give me excellent race cars to drive every night, and it's my job to come in here and do my job, not make mistakes. And when they give me the fastest car like they did tonight, make sure I park it right down here in Victory Lane. So we did our job tonight, and looking forward to keeping it going.
We were actually racing Oval Nationals. We're there on a prelim night. I think at the time it paid $1,500 to win. While that was going on, the Outlaws were at Charlotte, and Ricky Stenhouse sent Bryan a picture of the grandstands, and it's packed. And I remember Bryan was getting ready to roll out and said, this is where we should be. But what we need to do is build one of everything, load up a trailer, and just travel the country racing. So that was his goal, was to run 200 races in a season, just do something that was different than anybody else would do, with of course the big one being the Indy 500 as part of that.
Got some crew gear in for our non-wing stuff for 2015 or 2016 year behind season. Lauren's going through and we're putting together our crew packets right now for everybody. It was something that Lauren and I had actually talked about. It's going to be a year.
I know she definitely will say, unlike any other in our life where we're racing this much and traveling. About 3 o'clock in the morning, just rolling into the hotel. Somebody's a little sleepy.
The Chasing 200 tour, David Bird is to blame for that crazy idea.
Bryan and I were actually in Las Vegas in November of 2014. We were attending a global rallycross. He was like, I've always wanted to do something really special, like for a season. I'm like, well, what is that? He says, well, it's kind of crazy. And I said, well, I like crazy, so, tell me your idea. He says, I just want to take a trailer and just put a sprint car in it, throw some wings in there, put a midget in there, and just travel around the country, race it as many times as I can, and try to get 200 races in 1 year. I said, well, let's get to work on it.
Bryan said, it would be really cool if I could just go where the big money races are, not race for points. Everybody says it, but be a true outlaw.
It took almost 10 different teams to be able to put that schedule together. It took all the way till really the end of 2015 to put all the pieces in place.
David played a huge role in the Chasing 200 tour, and he wanted nothing more than to put Bryan on this pedestal and really just set Bryan apart from other race car drivers at the time.
Let's go to the races.
Go, 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 go. Wanna go to the races? Let's go. Who wants to go? Who wants to go? Who wants to go? Wrong way, Chip.
Chip, you wanna go to the races?
You wanna go to the races? All right, let's go.
Lauren said she needed lots of Bud Light to get through this trip. That should get her through the first weekend. May or may not have gotten peed on by a dog.
Not the one you would think either.
You?
No. Chevy.
You?
Marking her territory in the new motorhome. Bryan's way more excited about this life on the road thing than me.
This isn't even life on the road yet.
I remember when Bryan was like, we're gonna do this. And I was like, we are gonna do this? What do you mean? It sounds so silly now, but I was like, when am I gonna go to the dentist? I don't wanna live in a motorhome. I'm gonna have to pee in a real toilet. We don't have Wi-Fi. When am I gonna shower in a real shower? All these things. And Bryan just had a very go with the flow, but we're gonna do it.
Yeah, I felt like I passed 10 guys, at least.
A typical USAC or typical short track racer, man, they might just race 20, 30, 40 times a year. 40 would be a lot, not all that long ago.
How are we possibly going to do this? I was just thinking from a logistics standpoint for me, it was going to be nutty, let alone physically driving that many races.
Maybe that's part of the old school thought that Bryan had, that reason I'm going to do this is because it's difficult.
We were looking at numbers the other day. I think we run 36 or 38 races in the month of June.
I thought he was nuts.
What do you think about his 200?
I think he's insane. I think he's nuts.
Me too.
Okay?
Thank you, me too.
It's very easy to state how I feel. I think he's crazy.
A lot of us, guys are running 100, 120, and 120 is a lot, so to try and, squeeze 80 more in, boy, that's going to be exhausting,
He's living everybody's dream. 200 races, he's always going to do it.
I don't think it's insane at all. If I was a cup racer, I'd probably be chasing 200 with Bryan Clauson.
You go from a wing car to a non-wing car to a silver crown car to a midget.
It was anything and everything. Okay, I can pick off 2 races here. I'm going to fly to Arizona and run 2 races there, and then we can go here.
There was always the rumor of where he's going to show up next. It was like the circus, the carnival is coming to your town.
Man, it was audacious, and it had everybody buzzing from the moment he started talking about it early in the year.
He was fine going down the road with his girlfriend and his dog. And got Herc and Parnelli and AJ sleeping in their station wagons, putting pork and beans on hanger, hanging them off the exhaust to warm them up, taking a bath in a lake. I can't see a lot of today's drivers doing that, but I could see Bryan Clauson doing it.
There's no doubt he was going to be able to do it, right? He had the connections and had the people lined up and had the will to do it and was good enough to do it.
What are you doing, Jim Bob? I got that on video.
Showing the glamorous part of racing.
I just caught Jim Bob falling on camera. He might be a YouTube sensation.
Doubt thick the mud is on there. A little wet tonight.
Volusia for race 13, first night in the All-Stars. Watching the heat race. Bryan started 6th. Got Kyle, Caitlin, bundled up going. They're cheering for Shane. I'm gonna cheer for Bryan. She's cheering for Shane too. I'm outnumbered. Hopefully Bryan and Shane both do well in this heat. Got a motor change going on the 17W here. It is race number 15 on the Chasing 200 Tour. First night with the World of Outlaws here at Volusia.
Crock-pot pork chops.
How good are they, B?
They're excellent. They're better than the way I'm running tonight.
We're here at Bubba Raceway Park here in Ocala for nights. Races 18, 19, and 20. First time back in the non-wing car. Gotta remember I don't have a lid on top.
How about it, race fans? Bryan Clauson, your winner in the 63.
Yeah. Woohoo! It took 19 races down, 181 to go. And I had like an oh my god moment. 181.
It ain't that many.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot.
Lauren, after tomorrow night, we're gonna be 10% of the way done.
I know, and I thought we were doing good until I realized we had 180 races left.
Well, you're gonna start doubling up here soon, though. Optimist, pessimist.
Negative Nancy over here.
Positive Polly over here.
We're here at Silver Dollar Speedway in Chico, California for race number 33 with the Civil War.
It's pretty cool. A lot like Wednesday night at Placerville. It's the place that I grew up watching my dad race. Been here once or twice myself, but always kind of cool for me to come to these places that I spent time kind of growing up at, watching my dad.
Bryan was born in Carmichael, California, 1989.
After he was born, I took him to his first race at 2 days old.
Passing into the final set of corners.
Yeah, Alan kind of got hung up there. It was one of those deals where you're, a hero or a zero, and I think he was trying to play a little bit safe with him because, it was around the bottom track, and I think if you felt if you didn't get off the bottom, you pretty well had her sewn up.
I drove sprint cars in California. Bryan, basically was born into it and then raised in the sport. Bryan was that 3-year-old that, would watch the races, have his wooden cars with him, and then rerun the races how he thought it should have went.
He would tell Tim after the races exactly what he did wrong. So he had an eye for it from the very beginning.
Bought a quarter midget, kind of introduced to him to driving. He'd been bugging me about it a little bit, so we got him racing quarter midget.
So got 20 more minutes?
Yeah, this is from Terry.
Oh my gosh.
What is that?
Let us see.
What is it?
Let us see.
A slot car.
Let us see.
Steve?
Green car.
Obviously, he was very excited, and we went out and practiced. He was doing a great job, and of course the racer, me, decides, well, let's pull the restrictor plate out and see how he can really do.
Running down the backstretch, Bryan Clauson gets up alongside and gets past him.
Fifth lap, he drove it through the fence, got to him, his shield's up, his face is bloody, and he, quite frankly said, as a 5-year-old, well, I don't want to do this anymore.
Ever so slow, the number one of Bryan Clauson.
We called him Ricochet because he hit cars, he hit walls, he hit tires, he hit everything.
I was really big, even at that age, that I wanted him to understand that wrecking, crashing is all part of the sport. And so don't ever be afraid of that we'll get a car back together for you.
Some of my fondest memories of quarter midget racing were just going to the track with our family, being there all day and just playing in the dirt with Bryan's friends, and those friends became my friends and families together.
We had pretty much ran out our quarter midget career out in California. We knew we were going to have to make another step.
We needed him to be able to race more than just once a weekend. We talked about it as a family, and we decided to move to Indiana.
I think he was excited about the adventure. I think that's when he saw the opportunities that Indiana presented over what maybe a California would at the time.
Racing for Mel Kenyon, I mean, he's a legend, you know.
Mel Kenyon is running first, the all-time midget champion, 5 national titles.
Well, Bryan Clauson, again, was a good driver. He won 6 features for us. He's one of the better ones, if you will, to start with. And 10 laps here at the Speedrome, he was at the track record, so he learned quick.
Mel and Don put together this incredible development series where all the cars were equal. Anybody that was making their climb up USAC had driven in those.
He gave Bryan some really, really good pointers, and just to see his improvement on the pavement, you know, every week.
It's good to have experienced drivers like Bryan Clauson that became fabulous actually in almost anything he drove. That's great because they learned how in Kenyon cars.
In the Kenyon midgets, it was clear right away that he was, you know, head and shoulders above most of the guys he was racing with. You could see he really had a knack for it. And it was really kind of the first time I ever went, okay, this is real.
I'd always told him that, you know, that once we became the teacher, that it was time to move on to whatever the next level was.
When you're winning over 50% of the time, I think it's certainly time to look at moving on if you can.
You know, we tried to race at the highest level we could, even when he was young and learning. Obviously, he was excited to get to go run sprint cars. That's what I did, and that's what all of his heroes have done.
I was actually 13 when I ran my first race, and you know, turned 14 in the middle of the year. And you look at pictures of yourself, and you're kind of like, oh, that might not have been the smartest thing, but.
Back in 2004 and 5, Friday nights at Bloomington were big. We knew that's where, you know, Kevin Briscoe was, John Stambro was, Dave Darlin would run down there, Tony Elliott would be down there.
I was trained and cut my teeth racing with those guys, and so I think that certainly made the transition to the national level a little bit easier.
When we would go and have our good runs down there, it was, well, look who he just outran.
He understood the rules. He understood how to conduct himself. And he had talent. That alone certainly garnered the attention of his peers.
He's so young, and he's got such an early start and such early success. You start to plot out in your mind who's got a lot of runway, and he had a lot of runway.
He built this respect level. You know, it was pretty anticipated when he was getting ready to make his inaugural USAC start.
You could see the talent right away. And it was one of the most anticipated USAC debuts of all time.
USAC is a really big deal. That's where everybody was coming from.
Bryan Clauson was just a month removed from his 16th birthday, but with 8 career sprint car victories in Indiana, was already turning heads at the wheel of the B&L Motorsports 2K4.
When Bryan was going to run his first USAC race, I was bound and determined to make a big deal of it. I covered it like it was some sort of, you know, news story that the whole world needed to hear.
Excited?
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
You finished second last night, man. What happened out there?
The track was just kind of greasy at the top.
He actually turned 16 the day of his first race at Lima Land.
And at that point, you're like, oh my God, this is the biggest race of my life. You know, raced wheel to wheel with, at that point, it was Levi Jones, and Jay Drake was in the TSR car.
Bryan was going toe-to-toe with the best non-wing short track racers in the country.
Had a great night. We ended up running third.
Set the stage early that we felt like we could compete.
To run on the podium your very first night as a 16-year-old rookie was incredible. He felt like he was going to win that first one right out of the gate.
Night after Lima was probably one of my least favorite USAC nights of my career.
The next night was his debut at Eldora. The week previous to that, he had signed a driver development deal with Chip Ganassi. Our advice to him was follow Dave Darlin in hot laps. Probably not a very good piece of advice. It was greasy and the car took off, hit a light pole, continued flipping all the way into turn 2.
And we hear on the radio, red, red, red. We go run out of the trailer, and Bryan's crashed in 1 and 2. And when I get up there, he is frantic, can't see.
He had the concussion and broke all the blood vessels in his eyes.
And I literally walked up to the car and I said, hey, I said, didn't have to try to knock my wall down. And literally he calmed right down.
It was probably the first really bad accident that he had in a sprint car.
Ended up on a helicopter out of there, but Chip happened to be coming to watch me, and he was hovering above the, he couldn't land because the life flight was taking off with me in it. And he landed and he was all mad and yelling at Tony, what's going on? What are you doing? And then Tony's, well, what are you doing here? He's like, I came to watch Clauson. He's like, well, there he goes.
He started driving midgets for Keith Coons, and on that was the pavement, dirt. But he kind of turned more towards that midget deal, and it was in October that he won at Columbus. When he won the midget race in October, he was the youngest to ever win a national midget race. I mean, it was shocking, quite honestly. That was probably the first night that Bryan drove for somebody else.
And I got to thank them, Keith, Pete, Vital Express, Bullet Chassis. We just started working together, so hopefully we can build on this and keep getting better.
I remember somebody stopping me and saying, hey, congratulations. And I'm like, thank you. It didn't have a lot to do with it. The ride home, in fact, Bryan said something to the effect of, hey, we did it, Dad. I wasn't sure if he meant we, him and the team, him and I. But I remember that was kind of the changeover from Dad, crew chief, to just Dad. Yeah.
Well, Bryan Clauson, a historical night for yourself and for USAC. You pulled out your first victory and a first time in a midget here at the USAC. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Just got to the airport here in Tampa, headed home. This is the fun part, trying to get the dogs.
Get the dogs ready to fly. Fill up. Fill up, buddy.
Look, you got 2 bones in there.
Fill up.
Good boy.
Heading home. Been on the road for 17 or 18 days, but
yeah,
we've spent 4 days at home since December 22nd, so ready to spend another 4 this week. Just getting to Hamilton Crossing Animal Hospital. Gonna take Chevy in for her vaccine. Thursday night, getting packed up for Texas. A little car wash action going on right now. It's kind of a 3-man tag team. Jim Bob, Noisy handles car wash. I'm here for moral support.
Heading to Victory Lane.
Hi, Matthew. I'm Bryan. Nice to meet you. You want to come take your picture? How many races have you done? Tonight was one of the days. That's more I'm going to do this whole year. Get that on camera?
Say that again.
That's more than I'm going to do this whole year. I just got summoned to the hauler for some reason. Let's find out what...
I was trying to get your t-shirts down. I was trying to move the box from that side of upstairs to this side of upstairs. So I tried to do it myself and it fell and freaking exploded. This is your fault.
It's always my fault.
Look at the box. The box literally exploded.
That happened like all the time. That wasn't a one-time deal. Our motorhome was like our second trailer. Our motorhome was like our stock trailer.
Now back to Bryan's favorite part of the night.
Doing my favorite job, loading and unloading merchandise.
And there were so many times where our aisle, of our motorhome would just be boxes, just stacked. And we had hats over here and jackets over here. And I was like, oh my God, I just want to put like a picture frame and a vase of flowers out and make this thing feel like home.
We're here at Eldora for Let's Race 2 weekend. We got Tyler, he's gonna take the camera. You guys know Tyler.
It's gonna be awesome. So here's what I normally do at night. We get back to the hotel. Like last night, I had 3 bags of chips. Didn't eat dinner. So I had Doritos, Cool Ranch, barbecue, and my dessert was some Cheetos. It was top 3 best hotel meal I've ever had.
Rizzy, and I told him this all the time, was the second little brother I never wanted.
Hi, everybody.
What's up?
he lived with me and Bryan, and like on day 3 of living with us, he was like, hey, so how do you do laundry?
You gotta bail me out.
I have to bail you out? What happened?
I haven't had money for the last week. Everybody's bought my stuff.
Do you need money?
Yeah. I got the great end of the deal. Bryan and Lauren had to hear my alarm go off every morning. They had to wake me up every morning. Bryan made food every day. He didn't do my laundry like I really thought he was going to. A little gathering here at the house. Tyler's getting ready to prep the food. Actually, I prep the food. Tyler's getting ready to cook the food. Pray not to it up. Besides living with my parents, he was the first person I lived with, and I don't think he wanted a 18-year-old kid at the time, but he handled it well. Boom, baby.
He was just like this little puppy dog that me and Bryan would be like getting ready for dinner, putting our shoes on, and next thing you know, Rizzy's putting his shoes on, like coming with you.
He eventually bought a house, and I was devastated. What a miserable experience.
He was like, I get to move with you guys, right? Like, can I come too? And Bryan's like, no, man, we're a couple. Like, you got to stay at the shop.
And maybe like the first 2 or 3 nights, I remember staying on an air mattress there. And then I think after they legitimately moved in, it was like, hey, get your shit and get out of here. Like, it's time for you to be a grown up.
Great. It's Saturday. We're headed to
Moberly,
Missouri.
Woo, racing.
Road trip. Me, Bryan, Uncle T, and Chevy and Stu.
There was a lot of times where it was me, Bryan, and Rizzy, and Rizzy was always a ton of help. And Rizzy was kind of, especially that year, Bryan's like go-to guy. He worked on the midget. He worked on the non-wing car. He came on a lot of wing sprint car trips with us. Bryan trusted him a ton. And, I think he was just that like constant that Bryan needed, going from this to this to this and moving all over the place.
Okay, have fun.
It's going to be a blast. I love you. I love all of you.
A 2-time winner of the night before the 500 in his 2nd win in a row, Jeff Gordon takes the checkered flag, and he is an excited young man.
The Jeff Gordon phenomena resulted in everybody's child being the next Jeff Gordon.
Well, I've ran quarter midgets for about 8 or 9 years, and I've ran go-karts for about 3 or 4 years.
So many people gravitate to Indiana to race. I can't tell you how many stories I heard about the next Jeff Gordon. People started really putting pressure on USAC and other places to get the children to race younger and younger. And everybody's going to be this star. And so at some point, you developed a skepticism about all of these kids, right? And Bryan Clauson had that same skepticism. You're going, oh boy, here we go.
Is the height going to exceed the actual talent?
And so it takes a little while for people to sort of go, well, yeah, he really is something. And he cut through that pretty quick.
Hello, race fans. Welcome to the Winchester Speedway, the High Banks. Today, the site of the 2006 Rich Vogler Classic, featuring the USAC National Sprint Cars. Next up, the young man from Noblesville, Indiana, the Keith Coombs Motorsports Dodge Advanced Racing Beast Chassis. This is Bryan Clauson.
I was at Winchester in 06. We knew he was good, but then there's always a question of, can he do the sketchy? Can he do the, can he go to Winchester, right?
Everybody knows going in there things that have happened there that haven't been good.
Just a quick update. Cody's in trouble. Cody is in trouble. Into the wall. That is number 4, Tony Stewart. Tony Stewart in the wall, upside down.
I'd never been to any place that you ran that fast in a car before. It just was so fast. It was so bumpy, gnarly. I mean, going into turn 1, you went over a tunnel. You either had to have a car good enough to drive over the tunnel and then lift, or lift before the tunnel. You couldn't lift on top of the tunnel. Fear is very real at Winchester. I don't care who you are. It's claimed a lot of lives down through the years in various accidents.
In the 1950s, the very first really psychiatric drug was called Milltown. It was a tranquilizer. There was a doctor at LaRue Carter Hospital that drivers could go to get Milltown because they would take Milltown before they took on Winchester and Salem. That's how treacherous it was, even for the bravest of the brave. It is so imposing. You just stand and you look at those banks. It's the only track where I really feel it looks faster from the stands and on the ground, but it can scare the bejesus out of nearly everybody.
Oh yeah, I was scared to death doing it. You know, not to show it because this is what you got to do if you're going to do this, but it just took some getting used to. I mean, it wasn't a place that I went there the first time and just stabbed the gas and felt comfortable. It took some time.
Ladies and gentlemen, here comes the thunder of the USAC National Sprint Cars off turn number 4. Green flag is out. Bryan Clauson leads them down in turn number 1 as they are clean and green.
Winchester, we all read about it, how dangerous it was. It's almost like a rite of passage. Like, nobody will give you credit for being a stud until you can, roll around that place and not be scared.
Working lap 11 this time by. It'll be 19 laps to go.
You know it's challenging. You know you're going to race against the best. That's one of those times where you're seeing things that are special and you don't realize it.
22 laps complete this time by. Clauson doing a tremendous job as Darren Hagan all over the back bumpers. Always down at turn 3. Hagan to the inside. Can't quite make the pass. Almost into the left rear. Bryan Clauson. Clauson continues to lead. 23 down, 7 to go.
He controlled the whole race. He was off the front, and it just didn't really get his heart rate up as much as you would have thought. He was good to go.
8 seconds to go as Bryan Clauson will work turns 3 and 4. Here comes Dave Steele to the inside. Off turn 4, Bryan Clauson. He'll pick up second.
I started doing the math in my head. I actually yelled out to the announcer, say this when he takes the checker.
Bryan Clauson, now the youngest driver in the history of USAC National Sprint Cars to win a feature. 16 years, 10 months, 8 days. Winchester Speedway known for being very intimidating. What do you think of this place now? Oh, it's still intimidating.
You want to talk about a shocking win. To go there as a 16-year-old kid with not a lot of pavement experience and beat, these iconic pavement drivers.
He just proved he was competent at a high level, really right off the bat.
It's just pretty amazing and overwhelming to win such a huge race. Can't really find the words.
For a kid wet behind the ears to come in there and spank the field, let me tell you, that left no doubt. I mean, everyone was like mouths ajar saying, oh my God, this kid is something else.
That was like the moment when everybody said, okay, it's legit. And then he won a few after that. He won Concord, he won Salem, swept Salem.
The question now is, can Bryan Clauson score the Salem sweep at the line? He does. Bryan Clauson joins Jeff Gordon, Pancho Carter, and Dave Steele as Salem sweepers.
Bryan had ambitions, Indy, NASCAR, things like that. Those pavement wins probably helped him more than anything else he did during that period.
Both cars were just absolutely awesome, and we were able, once we got out front, we were just able to kind of cruise there, and can't say enough about the stuff they put me in and the cars they give me every week.
Feature time at Brownstown, race 34 of Chasing 200.
There you go, fans. Look at that.
Laps down. I didn't pay a $40 pit pass to watch Bryan run the bottom for 40 laps, so he needs to go to the top. My bottom feeder of a boyfriend is not putting on a good show at the moment. my mean comment about Bryan being a bottom feeder, even though he is. He went to the top and it was a good race.
I did all of Bryan's social media, his racing pages. Bryan did all his personal stuff, like his personal Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. He always did his own on that side of things. But I felt like it was my job to make people see the person that Bryan was. And so that's why the dogs were so involved. And, you know, we did take those cameras everywhere to give you that human aspect. We love the dogs. They went everywhere with us, you know, on the road in the t-shirt trailer. I think Chevy had as big as a fan following as Bryan did, probably. People still come to the races and ask for Chevy, ask to see her. Had Chevy for a year. She was an angel, great dog, easy on road trips. I was like, let's get another one. Don't do it. I love Stewart, but oh my goodness. He's a monster. Franklin, get over here. Come here. Hey, you want a treat? Come on. Hey, Stewart. Chevy, don't even think about it. Stewart, Franklin, come here. Hey, stop. Stewart, are you kidding me? That's a fence for a reason. Oh my God. Stewart, we're mic'd up. Everyone can hear you growling at me. Ugh.
We just got home. It's one of my favorite things to do.
Can I go get the dog?
Yeah, get the dogs out.
Hi, Dad. Cheers, 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 cheers.
Bryan would walk in the front door and just like attacked by the dogs, you know, puppy kisses everywhere.
The wild animals.
I'm on dad duty.
Bryan and Chevy were totally connected. Stewart was my dog, but he was still totally in on the action. Like, especially if Bryan had been gone for a couple days or if we picked him up from the airport.
There's Dad. There he is. Oh, he's doing. Oh, yes.
Bryan always told people he loved coming back to the motorhome or going home after the races because Chevy never cared where he ran. She didn't care if he ran first or 16th. She was just happy to see him and love him.
Stewart, did you like the steak Uncle T cooked?
Yeah, I think Stewart was awesome. The thing to do was, you know, you lay the dog down on the back and then you bite the dog's ear. And I don't know if Bryan was just saying that as a joke, but like I took it to heart. So that's what I did with Stewart.
Come here. How are you?
I think I like Stewart better just because I feel like maybe he listened to me more. Maybe because I bit his ear, you know? And maybe that's why.
Chevy, you driving us? Chevy, go get Dad.
Our dogs loved Bryan. Bryan loved those dogs so much.
Get a look on the inside there. That car on the right side of your screen, back behind Bryan Silas, is the number 4, Bryan Clauson. Remember, Bryan doesn't have that much oval track experience or in big cars. He's got a lot of open wheel experience, but he's doing a terrific job here.
So Ganassi signed him as a development driver at 15 years old. He actually signed him before even he ran his first USAC race. You had to be 18 to run anything in NASCAR. At that time, at 16, you could run ARCA short track stuff.
And it looks as though Bryan Clauson is going to make the pass, moves into second, and now he'll try to reel in Michael McDowell.
It was a big transition. You know, he had amazing glimpses of winning races.
Coming out of turn number 4, checkered flag will fly. It is the 40 of Bryan Clauson, your winner. How about that, Phil?
What a nice job by Bryan Clauson for a first ever ARCA Remax win.
It had its ups and downs as far as, you know, different amount of races that he got to run.
Here's the battle for second. Bryan Clauson will get it in the number 40, and Frank Kimmel will finish third.
He's used to winning, you know, and it's really hard on guys to lose and then to not get to race the next day.
I'm happy with today's run. It was finally a good smooth race for us. We didn't have to overcome any adversity or anything, and it's nice just to get a good, clean, solid run in.
It was an interesting time for our family because, we did have to go to the racetrack, and we didn't go out on the starting grid with him. We were kind of just stuck in the stands with our friends and family cheering him on.
Here we go. Got a spin already. 40 car, Bryan Clauson. Yellow's up behind you, turn 2.
Not been a good weekend for Bryan. He was due to make his Cup Series debut, and it rained out qualifying. He had to put that on hold, and now in lap 1 in the nationwide race, he is the reason for the yellow flag.
When your whole life you've had success in everything and everybody's told you that you're really great.
Trouble out of turn 2, the rookie driver, Bryan Clauson, heavy contact in the back of his Dodge.
And then you have to deal with this adversity, and it's all at once, and it's away from home, and you don't get to go the next day and win a race.
I feel for the amount of races that he got to run in NASCAR, he did a really, really good job and built relationships with the crew chiefs and got to work with some really cool people.
Mentally, his mental makeup, his intelligence for his age was advanced, so you didn't really think of him as being that young and raw, but he was a kid kind of thrust into a tough spot there.
Anytime you can run well with as many cup guys as there was in the field today, we really needed a good run. We had Texaco Haviland on board this year, and we're still searching for sponsorship the rest of the year. So.
Really, it got to a point where he was, 18 and a half, but they really didn't have anything for him.
I just feel like it was the timing, and the timing wasn't right. Bryan was like, I don't want to be a start and park guy. I want to go back to where my roots are, and I want to start racing as many times as I can in a weekend.
As Dave Donald will put him a lap down as Brady Bacon working the high line almost into the fence on turn 4. Oh, and big trouble for Bryan Clauson. Red flag conditions on the racetrack for the 67 of Bryan Clauson as he comes to a stop.
He went to Wheatland and got hurt pretty bad in a sprint car accident.
He flipped and came down, on the bars, and I think it knocked some stuff out of the front end, and the last hit did, hurt his neck. He was a little knocked out for just a moment, and he's like, I got to get out, and I got to get in the midget. And Tim's like, you're not going anywhere.
Rory's fans update come down there in turn number 1. We were being told that Bryan Clauson is conscious.
He ended up going to a small hospital in Missouri.
That was probably one of the first wrecks that I remember being really scared about. I was staying with one of my friends, and I remember getting the phone call from my mom. She just said Bryan was involved in a really bad accident. He broke his neck, and I just remember just this pit in my stomach.
He was a millimeter, I believe, away from potentially paralyzing himself.
There was a period of time where, they weren't even sure if he was, going to walk.
That was probably the most challenging time that Bryan had as a race car driver. He was sidelined for, I think it was 2-3 months at least.
I think that was really kind of a turning point in his career. It would have been really easy for him to walk away from the sport and be like, I'm done. And I remember my mom and dad and myself even sitting down with him and saying, is this truly what you want to do?
Bryan was never a crier. Even he got hurt, got mad, he never really cried. We were listening to Eldora 4-Crown, and I looked over at him, and we're sitting in the chair, and he's got his neck brace on, and I see a tear rolling down his cheek. And I'm thinking, his neck's hurting him. I'm like, you okay? And he said, I just didn't realize this would go on without me.
When you have to sit out, and as much as it sucks, the really, really good ones come back, and they're so much better because they've been able to just see it from a 30,000-foot view,
For him, I think he even developed more of a love and understanding of why he does this, because he understood at any moment it could go away.
I just think he loved the sport so much. He's like, I'm not done. I'm not done doing what I'm here on this earth to do.
The monkey will finally come off Bryan Clauson's back. Checkered flag flies, the win. Night number 1, the Budweiser Oval Nationals, Bryan Clauson.
Bryan came back to the dirt world, and it's almost kind of like he had a little bit of a chip on his shoulder.
Rebounded here, and anything goes tomorrow.
There was a little bit of vengeance. Not that he was taking it out on anyone, but it's like he had something to prove.
He's going to get it done! Toro for Bryan Clauson, your winner!
He said to me, I want to win the Belleville Nationals. I want to win Turkey Night. So if this is my opportunity to do it, that's what I want to do. Everything he learned down south, he was able to come back and apply it some way, tire management, race management, maybe not showing things that you know you have in your back pocket too early so that it can come back to haunt you.
When he left, he was 20, and when he came back, he was 40. He was just so wise as a driver.
Out of turn 4, Bryan Clauson takes the win.
I just saw a whole different side of him. Pure determination. He had something to prove to the world, and he wasn't going to stop until he did it.
At this time, we'd like Bryan Clauson to come up to the stage as we introduce you to our 2011 USAC National Drivers Champion.
Man, this is unbelievable. 2 years in a row to be standing up here and at the head of the class, and a great class that it is.
When he won his first championship, that was almost like another thing he pinned on the bulletin board. I'm a guy that can be in there for the long haul and seal the deal for a whole season and not just one day.
We did it truly as a family team. It's where, Tyler Courtney came into our lives as a 14-year-old kid to just grunt for us.
That summer, I think Bryan had one of the best years of his career. I feel like we won every race, right?
Larson kind of shot into contention there after Eldora and the things he's done. So if you're trying to hold off a guy like that, you got to get on a hot streak at some point.
I just remember wanting to beat him so bad, more than anybody else. He was the guy that kind of set the bar and was kicking everybody's butt.
Here was this likable kid who was wowing people with his maturity in the race car. And I think people started to get on board with him, not just fans, but people who can make a difference in your career.
This team never had any quitting it all year long, and come back from missing 4 races and to be champion is something that's it's unheard of and unbelievable, and can't be any prouder of my guys than I am, and proud to be a USAC Sprint Car champion.
2012. We had won the Sprint Car Championship that year in our own stuff, and Bryan came into the shop and was like, hey, I need to talk to you. Tony called. He wants me to run the 20 car. Why would you do that? We just kicked their and he said, look, Dad, what we do together is incredible. And obviously we've had a lot of success doing it. But if I'm ever going to be looked at as a hireable driver, if I turn down this opportunity, nobody's ever going to come to me to drive their race car. And he was 100% right.
Checkered flag waving, 20 national sprint car wins go to Bryan Clauson.
Putting Bryan in the Tony Stewart racing machine, that's like putting David and Goliath on the same team.
I think Tony recognized that determination in Bryan and that special talent that he had.
Unbelievable. What a run by Bryan Clauson.
It's great. I mean, it's what every car owner dreams of, is having someone like Bryan Clauson drive for you.
I knew Tony, met him 1,000 times when I was younger coming up through. He always dreamed about driving for him.
I think that was the first time that it ever became, professional Bryan, right? It wasn't about doing this with Dad out of our garage or the race shop or whatever. It was about getting paid as a job to do this.
He knew how to think through a race and knew how to figure out how not only put themselves in the right positions, but how to finish it. Every race that you go to, you got a chance at winning.
BC has the sleeves rolled up in the 20. Bryan Clauson, you've got a new leader.
To be able to add my name to that list of guys that have been able to bring a sprint car championship to Tony Stewart Racing is it's special for myself and all the guys around me.
It was the best thing that he could have done for his career. You know, when Bryan drove for me, even though we were winning, he was always my son first, race car driver second. When he got off and started, driving professionally for somebody else, he was my son. And that became predominant in both our relationships.
I'm sure that was awesome.
Yeah, it was. After a few moments of me reconciling that I just lost my driver. So.
Hey guys, it's Monday, about lunchtime. Just turned the driving duties over to Laura.
That is not true. I have been driving since 9 o'clock this morning. Yes,
It's her story. Let her tell it.
Brian,
But
this is my coffee, 9 o'clock, and the driver's side cup holder.
it's her coffee from 11 when we stopped.
Brian,
She was snoozing over here.
you're lying.
We're on our way to Plainfield, Illinois, to the Dale Coyne Racing Shop to get fitted in my Indy 500 car. You see the seat insert in there. It's all custom fitted. This is actually my steering wheel that's going in. We do the kind of custom grips. You can form them how you want. But here's one with the full display. Got a lot going on. Pretty complicated stuff. Yeah. You don't see that in a sprint car.
Just gotta do a quick little refresher for IndyCar. Alright, there you go.
The Indy 500, especially in 2016, being the 100th running, was just huge.
Chevy, you excited? Are you excited for the Ranger?
There was just so much pomp and circumstance around it, even more so than normal, being the 100th running.
Hey, Bryan!
How's it going, guys?
You're at the top level of motorsports, and you're watching the person you love, be a part of it and get to live their dream.
And now for the class photo.
He knew it was special. He told us as a young kid, when he was running sprint cars in his early teens, and he was like, I want to race at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway someday.
The view you are watching is live. It's the scene right now at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The sun will set soon, and the huge amphitheater of motorsport is an almost silent world of cooling asphalt and lengthening shadows.
For any racer in America, especially any open-wheel racer, everybody's got a secret desire to get to Indianapolis and run the 500. That was the center, and that was the pinnacle, and for decades, USAC was connected to the 500 through their sanctioning.
Post-World War II, especially in the 50s and 60s, the Roadster era is one of the most romantic eras of our sport because there are so many people that could build those cars and compete in them, and the cars were a lot more like what people trained in.
Many USAC racers progressed to Indianapolis, and they brought their fans and their following with them. And then we had that disconnect that began in the late 70s and is still, frankly, kind of ongoing. There's this desire for almost everybody in open wheel racing to want that connection to resume, to get a chance to get to Indy and see what they can do on the biggest stage in motorsports.
When there was talk about Bryan Clauson wanting to run the Indianapolis 500, I knew from the promoter standpoint that Bryan Clauson running the Indy 500 was going to be great for the Indy 500.
Bryan Clauson got to run Indy because of one guy, Randy Bernard, that took him to Kokomo to Indiana Sprint Week. He couldn't believe there were 5,000 people there and they all had a t-shirt on their favorite driver.
I went to some dirt track races earlier this summer and I saw the crowd and they wanted American drivers, and I've always said we need the best drivers in the world.
He said, we got to get somebody like Bryan Clauson in the Indy 500. So he decided that he was going to give the overall USAC champion enough money to go to the Indy 500.
This year we're going to let him run his dream.
we're going to let him run the Indy 500.
The partnership that USAC and the IndyCar Series have put together is really exciting. And you know, growing up as a kid, you always dream of the month of May here in Indy, and for that to be a reality now and have an opportunity at that is unbelievable and something that I think not only myself but everybody in USAC is really excited about.
So Bryan, because of what he did in 2011 through USAC, he got the scholarship, and then we got with Andy and Sarah and started putting together the 500 program for 2012.
I am so impressed with all of you putting this event together, and you know, I think it's just fantastic that the community comes out and, you know, really celebrates Bryan being able to achieve one of his dreams, the Indy 500. We were really happy when he chose our team to try and put something together for the Indy 500.
Great way for myself to kick off probably the biggest month of my life, you know, and one of the most exciting times of my life.
Bryan Clauson, Bob, the quickest lap of the day at 2:21.173. Where did he come from?
I'm just extremely elated with how these first few days have gone, and just the comfort and speed this FHR car has.
Well, you proved, hey, I'm capable of doing this. I'm capable of this kind of speed. This kid's got the ability maybe to win the Indianapolis 500.
He was the face of short track racing. In terms of social media and presence, he moved the needle. The country was interested in Bryan Clauson.
One of our guys was here again, which hasn't happened in a really long time.
His fans were going to come with him to the Speedway, wearing their sprint car shirts, their midget shirts, their USAC apparel. And it's really cool to still see that carry on through today.
Just the fact that, you know, I could say that my son was going to be racing the Indy 500, it was pretty darn cool.
Indy 500 race day.
Here we go.
For me as a dad, I'm going back to that first quarter midget crash that he had testing, you know, or practicing, and all these moments that, you know, that led up to this. And you spend a lot of time, you know, thinking about the journey. And, you know, I don't ever think we ever thought the 500 would be the destination. But then to be there at that, while that was important, it was really the journey that you know, kind of kept going through my mind.
Eyes on the pace car. Fans, are you ready?
And it starts. Scott, here we go.
2016 was actually the first time where you like went on the grid and kind of go, wow, we do belong here. He was competitive the whole month, you know, and then raced, you know, pretty decently.
Bryan's getting ready to come in.
The goal was to finish the race. He's actually running faster lap times as the race goes on. He's enjoying his time in the car.
Everybody wants to be up front here and lead at some point in time.
I was actually in the stands, and I had just gone to check on the girl who was working the t-shirt trailer, but I had my headset on, my radio on, listening, and Bryan said something about, like, you know, needing tires or fuel or whatever, and the guy was like, yeah, well, we're gonna stay out here, we're gonna let you lead a couple laps to the Indy 500. And Bryan was like, oh, Tim Ford. Him leading laps at the Indy 500 under yellow, but it doesn't matter, it still counts.
The record shows Bryan Clauson led a lap at the Indianapolis 500. And why that's important is if it had been 1955, 1960, he would have been in the top tier IndyCar teams without any question, because he had proved himself at that level. And it was so great that he led a lap in the 100th running.
He actually led the 100th lap of the 100th running. They finished like 23rd or something.
And he felt like he was on top of the world.
500 just got over. Bryan finished 23rd. Thumbs up. Now we're trying to get across the street and get to the truck so we can get to Kokomo.
Bryan ran the Indy 500, and then he went to Kokomo to race after. Like, on paper, we had it all logistically worked out. Nothing worked. We get on the golf cart, just sea of people like it is. We finally make it to the truck. I get out of the parking lot and traffic is already stopped. I'm going and like begging police officers, like, can you please let us around? I have a race car driver in here. We got to make it to the track. And they're like, no, races are over. Like, it's done. And I'm like, no, our day is just getting started here.
Actually, he had a registered nurse in his truck as well because they hooked him up to IV fluids. It was warm that day, so they wanted to make sure that he had enough steam to go race his sprint car.
No, this is my documentary. You're gonna be famous.
The Indian double, I think, defines Bryan and just what a badass he is. You're gonna come here and you're gonna run 500 miles at 230 miles an hour at the most incredible race circuit in the world. And then he's gonna hop in an on-wing sprint car 45 miles north of here at Kokomo, Indiana, at the baddest bull ring in the country and tame that.
All right, update, trying to get our butts to Kokomo. We sat in one spot for an hour. So I made a bold, aggressive move, made a U-turn. Had to get out and negotiate with some cars around me. 3 of the 4 were nice. 4th one was not nice, but it's okay. We turned around, we're moving. I can see the 465 sign.
We made it. I think we pulled in. I think they delayed hot laps 20, 30 minutes for us.
We have made it to Kokomo Speedway. There's all our people.
We did a deal where we sold tickets. I think in 2016 we had 200 fans, like 212 people that went and they did the double with us.
We had 4 buses full of people to do the double with Bryan. So they got to all, go to the 500. Everybody sat together in the same section, and then everybody got back on the buses, and they went to Kokomo, and they got to have, fried chicken dinner catered to them by Jonathan Birds.
I'd say probably about 50 of them had only been to dirt races and never been to the Speedway, and there was probably 20 or 30 of them that had only been to the Speedway and never been to a dirt race. So it was really cool to kind of get them all mixed together and introduce them to each type.
He brought people together, and guys running the Indianapolis 500, and he's sitting back thinking, how can I help out dirt track racing and grassroots racing as well?
I think Bryan was thinking of something bigger than himself. And I think that was sort of him giving back to the sport in that form to kind of get us all excited.
The Indy 500 doesn't exist without sprint cars helping define so many of our super champions, AJ Foyt, Mario Andretti, Bobby Jones. The list goes on and on and on.
Bryan Clauson was cut out of the same cloth. Because he had the chance to run Indianapolis, because he had the chance to run NASCAR, that didn't make him any better than anybody else.
And you wouldn't know that he just got out of the Indy car, you know what I mean? Like, here we are, we're ready to do it again. Have the car sitting there, and I felt like I was just as big of a part as him running the 500 as he probably was, you know what I mean? So that was cool.
When he went out there and he raced against a Dave Darlin or a John Stanbro, he knew with the right brake those guys should be getting what he was getting, and he shined the light back there on Kokomo. God bless him.
Bryan went on to win the sprint car race that night by about that much. He beat Kevin Thomas Jr., I believe, and that just really capped off. It was like cherry on top of the whole month. It was really cool.
And Bryan on an Ovalville, Indiana. I was a Indiana double will be perfect. And with the Kokomo Class Cannon Bull Race Bryan Clauson.
Yeah.
On the top, too. Hola. Thanks again, everybody, for coming. I hope everybody had a great time. I appreciate you guys sharing this special day with me. I did a lot of work today, but I don't do much of the work on this. It's mostly Lauren. So if you had a good time, let her hear you.
At the end of the night, Bryan would walk over to the bus and talk to everybody and thank them for coming and just talk about how special it was for him to be able to do that. And It's crazy that in 2016, that was the last time, obviously, he ran the Indy 500 and did the double. I remember for some reason, I was like, I have to get a picture with Bryan. After what he just did, he just finished, all 500 miles and won at Kokomo. I never got pictures with my brother. It was just something we didn't do. And I asked him, and I'm so thankful because I look back at that picture, and that was probably one of the best days I had with him in a while.
Kyle Larson here on the Chasing 200 tour. We're rolling with Lauren and Caitlin. We got Bryan.
Shoot, I needed to
Bryan and I.
Boys are right.
Night 1 midget week.
Night 2 of midget week here at Gas City. Heading up for the feature. What do you think, Owen? Can Uncle Bryan be sad tonight?
Midget week was cool. Noisy and Jim, Bob, and Clark were there, which was Bryan's boys, so Bryan would come help. Tim was up late, probably felt young again. We're all just hanging out. Probably one of the better times through 2016.
Just got home from final night of Indiana Midget Week. I was able to run 6th and win the Indiana Midget Week title, my 3rd.
Drinking down, there it is, 76 total USAC national wins for Bryan Clauson.
And absolutely dominating last 7 or 8 days for BC. He won 4 of the 5 sprint car races during Indiana Midget Week, and he's back in victory lane here.
All right, we're hooked up, ready to go. Port Royal is the next stop.
He sucked at Port Royal. And I know he was kind of dreading going out there. Lauren went back to the RV and didn't even watch. And Bryan ends up winning.
It was awfully lonely in victory lane. Somebody didn't have any faith.
His wing accomplishments, I think I took the most pride in because he was working on becoming a wing driver, and he was really starting to swim in a world that it sometimes can be a tough world to swim in, and it didn't take him long to adapt.
For the first time of his career, Bryan Clauson wins with the Arctic Cat All-Star Circuit of Champions at Sharon Speedway. Woohoo!
That's all I have to say about tonight.
I was going to ask him how he felt winning his first All-Star race.
Feels awesome.
Woo-hoo.
I'm pumped. I'm pumped. It's so hard to win these races.
It was fun to sit back and count, tracking numbers and thinking, man, okay, he's gonna need to, we can't have rain for a couple of weeks now. We really gotta chip off 15, 20 races in a row here with no rain outs.
Then it kind of set in wow, this is no joke. I don't know, I don't know how he does it. I would hear him talk maybe I think we're gonna be cutting it close. It might be 1 or 2 off. That's not bad.
Here's Cummins, catches the moisture to the race lead. Kyle Cummins. Here's 8 to go. Contact. Oh my.
Yeah, so I think July 10th might be the official day that we decided we retired. Just worn out. We slept till about 12:15 today. Not miserable, just worn out.
Here they come to the white flag. BC sees the white flag in the flagman's hand. He has 3/8 of a mile to go. Right now, Tyler Courtney is about 4 car lengths back down the backstretch.
Not going to have enough. Through 3 and off of turn number 4, night 3 of Indiana Sprint Week at Lawrenceburg to Bryan Clauson.
BC won! Woohoo!
Woo! Finally during Indiana Sprint Week.
This is my college graduation, first time I graduated college, Bryan raced in Knoxville the night before. It rained. There was like delays, red flag after red flag. We didn't end up leaving Knoxville until like 1 a.m. Knoxville to Noblesville is probably, I don't know, 6-7 hours. And Bryan drove all night. I slept in the backseat of the truck. Went to my graduation. I had to be there at like 10 a.m. He rolled in at noon. I tell people all the time, but that was one of the coolest things about Bryan. He treated my events as like the big things too. You know, he was a race car driver, sure, and he had a lot of glory and recognition, but he always made, like, when I had a test or I had an exam at school, he always made that like a big deal. He'd wake up and make a special breakfast and make a big deal of it, and, you know, always made me feel special too. I always said he was just like annoyingly good at life, everything he did. Obviously, he was a great race car driver, but everything he did. And one of those annoyingly good traits, he never smelled bad. Like, after racing everything, his uniform, I swear, when he would sweat, it would like be like sudsy smelling like laundry. So, fun fact, Bryan didn't smell bad. We met when I was Miss Eldora Speedway. We had a mutual friend, Misha, introduced us, and Misha was Bryan's manager at the time. On the Tony Stewart racing side of things. You know, we talked about how he was going to be racing at Eldora the following month for 4 Crown, and he was like, maybe I'll see you there in Victory Lane. And I was like, okay, yeah.
Off of turn number 4, twin checkers away. Bryan Clauson gets the win.
He did win at Eldora a month later. It was his first Silver Crown win, and I was his trophy girl. And then we kind of messaged on Facebook back and forth a little bit. And the Eldora banquet was end of January 2011, and he flew down to Florida to see me like a week later, and we were together ever since.
You need like a cool intro song playing right now?
What?
You need like a cool intro song, like music.
Yeah. Sing something.
No.
Bryan just had this like calming presence about him.
My hairspray just sprayed my bag. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
That was my hairspray.
Oh no.
And when I was with him and, you know, with him on this journey, it was just everything's going to be okay. It's all going to work out. On nights that he did win, especially when he won big races, and getting to be there and celebrate with him in Victory Lane was always so cool. And I always felt like I was just like a little kid watching from the stands, like when he would do his cage stand, and, you know, I just couldn't be there like looking at him with awe. 2014 when he won Chili Bowl, that was the coolest, being in Victory Lane, like just tears in my eyes because I knew how much it meant to him, just getting to be a part of it, and like the energy in Victory Lane and just the pride that, you know, you feel for that group of people that have worked so hard to be there. It's just a really unique feeling.
All right.
Attention, everybody! There we go.
So we just wanted to thank everybody for coming. It's first time in what?
5 years?
Five and a half years that I've been able to have everybody kind of important to us here with us. So hope you enjoyed our house. And
Just don't wait another 5.5.
Just don't wait another 5 years?
Yeah.
See you all in 2021.
But I also thought this might be a good time. What? This might be a good time to do this. Is that a no? Is that a no? I think that's a no. She doesn't like it. Sorry, guys.
About damn time! And I couldn't resist what I couldn't turn down. But I can't walk away from you. I ain't never had anything have this much control over me.
10:48. Is it really? Yeah, it is 10:48. 10:48. We have Brittany Spears on the radio and Lauren driving.
TDL.
Truck driver Lauren. We're on to Fairbury, Nebraska. We picked up a hitchhiker. We don't know her name yet. We haven't got that far. She was really close to Knoxville. We somehow convinced her to ride to Nebraska and Beloit and then back with us. So, headed to the USAC midget race. Should be there in about 4 hours. Trying to get my four-wheeler to start. Please hold. Got it.
Had some issues in qualifying, so Brian's starting 13th.
We're in Beloit for second night of Belleville week. Tyler. Let's ask Tyler what happened last night.
I f***ed up, alright? I messed up.
It's alright, there he is.
We didn't listen to Brian.
Said he was fired, didn't we? He's got 2 more weeks. He hasn't. He's on the show for 2 more weeks, guys.
Down the back straightaway, nobody close enough to challenge. He worked and worked and worked like a true veteran. Second win of the year, Bryan Clauson wins the Chad McDaniel Memorial. Going to Belleville, a place you've won 3 times. How confident are you that you guys can go back-to-back and make it 4?
Well, I feel really good. Obviously, this thing's been running good, and that's a place that I've had a lot of success, and should be a lot of fun. We're excited, and that's a place that we always look forward to going to. Busy week, and
Dinner champions right here.
just got here to Belleville. Had about a 5-hour drive this morning from Knoxville, chasing our 4th Belleville National. So always a fun place to come. Probably our most historic midget race that we do, and looking forward to night 1. We got 2 nights here.
All racetracks are in some way fast, but some places to me are scary fast.
Jeff Gordon, lap traffic, what a thing of beauty!
Belleville is scary fast.
4 and 5 cars upside down.
Belleville is one of the most unique experiences in American racing.
This is the Belleville Nationals. The best cars in the country, the best drivers in the country, and certainly one of the fastest, nicest racetracks in the country.
He's lapped everybody in the field except for Steve Knipper. The checkered flag for Jeff Gordon.
It's a really fast type of track, really wide, and that's the kind of dirt tracks that I like.
I think the Chili Bowl and the Belleville Nationals are the 2 biggest races we run on dirt.
I've been waiting all my life for a big race like this.
People were intimidated by it, and it had this, aura of kind of these all-time greats liked it or were scared of it, one or the other.
Oh, he's blasted! Robbie Flop drives into Jimmy Sills.
Oh, no!
You have to be pretty brave, frankly. You gotta have a great race car. Mentally it's hard because you're going so fast and it's difficult to see the fence all the way around.
They've got the corner markers up there for a reason. You can be like, where am I? Where am I supposed to turn in? And the next thing you know, you're on the front stretch and there's the crowd there. There's a big difference between good and bad there. The few who really like being there and are really comfortable there show you just how much faster they are.
He's gonna get it done! Corner off for Bryan Clauson, your winner!
Brian loved Belleville. He was so proud to have won the Belleville Midget Nationals.
Quite honestly, I think him winning Belleville was probably his greatest accomplishments. And not just winning it once, but, being one of 2 3-time winners. So to go even lead at Belleville, he thought was, defining in his career.
And as he comes off of 4, Bryan Clauson ties Jerry Coons Jr., a 3-time winner of the Belleville Midget Nationals.
We kept slicing and dicing the best we could, and luckily it was enough.
The key to winning at difficult tracks is sort of an extension of a person's confidence. He always seemed to be thinking and not just talking about something. He was thinking about how he's going to win at this particular racetrack.
Belleville's usually a 2-day race, and the day before, Bryan and Lip that night wasn't terribly hard, but any hit at Belleville does hurt.
Just got back to the hotel from Belleville. Bryan crashed tonight.
It was a tough night. There was a lap car sitting up there. I landed square into him. Didn't really feel that great.
Yeah, it was kind of a scary hit. Bryan said he's okay. Shoulder hurts. He said if it hurts more in the morning, we'll go get it checked out. But he's a race car driver and a male, so I'm gonna guess he's gonna say, "Oh, it feels fine."
You know, talked to him after. He's like, sore. You know, he was shrugged off. No big deal. Been sore before.
Because he was in the midst of the Chasing 200 deal. He had ran Knoxville, their prelim night, which I think was Thursday. And the deal was, if he landed himself in the front 4 rows at Knoxville, then he was going to go back there Saturday. He'd still come run Friday at Belleville, but he would go back to Knoxville. And then if not, he wanted to stay at Belleville and try to win his 4th Belleville Nationals. Then he ended up running 5th or 6th, which put him like in the 5th or 6th row. And I remember telling him, man, you guys have a shot to win the 360 Nationals. And he says, well, we have a shot to win Belleville, and our deal was this, and I'm sticking with our deal. Of course, hindsight being 2020, I'd have probably put my foot down a lot harder that he went back to Knoxville.
Hey, how you doing? This is Tarek.
Oh, hey.
Just calling about your property that just came on the market.
Hey, Dr. Lauren. What are you doing today?
Taking care of my patient.
Heavy doses of Tylenol.
Try to get it locked up
And an ice pack on the shoulder.
And an ice pack. Feel a little bit better. Quite a bit better today.
Bryan had crashed the night before, but he was totally fine. He was Bryan. I had his sprint car owner text me that morning and was like, hey, is Bryan okay? He's going to race tonight? Does he want to come race Knoxville tonight? And Bryan and I talked about that, and he's like, nope, Belleville pays $12,500 to win. We're racing here. And the night before, the big thing, his shoulder was hurting him. And when he woke up that morning, he was like, look, moved his arm around, showed me. And I was like, okay. Bryan would not have raced if he wasn't feeling 100%.
A trophy would make everything feel better for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Sure would. Described like Knoxville was better too.
I know.
Without a doubt. Hopefully we see you in Victory Lane later.
63 out there, ready for hot laps. Tyler and Tim worked hard today and got a new car put together for Bryan after last night.
So rolling into Saturday, after the deal Friday, rolling into Saturday, it was like business as normal. Everything was good again. We had a good car again. Motor ran. They had a plan to get it done, and Bryan didn't about it. He just went along with it and got it done.
Bryan and I had a really good, really normal day leading up to everything. We finalized and picked out our wedding invitations. I had been on him for a couple weeks to tell me what colors you want, that type of thing. We did that.
Here at Belleville, riding the Ferris wheel out in the fair. Got my friend Ben with me.
And they have the fair carnival going on at Belleville. I went out and hung out at the fair, rode a couple rides with some friends, and I think we had the hotel for that night, but Bryan was like, hey, let's pack our stuff up just in case we want to get on the road to Knoxville tonight after Belleville. And I'm like, yeah, all right, let's do it. Let's get back to Knoxville as soon as we can, It was just normal.
You ready to go front, Spencer?
Did you check your fuel again?
Watching that 305 race. I thought the 911 was going to get him for sure.
Good?
Good.
Racing at Belleville.
Bryan was so good at the start of the feature that night. It was like another level.
Keep your eyes on Bryan Clauson on the bottom.
And he was, decimating them. A lot of people will exaggerate at times of stuff like that, but on that night, it was no exaggeration. It felt like take him to the woodshed.
He started, I think, 9th, worked his way to the lead, 12, 13 laps, which at Belleville you just don't do. And he doesn't do that. Wasn't the way that he drove. He was always methodical.
A point of emphasis for him was to remind all the younger guys there, who was the best at Belleville.
I was like, who is driving that car? Like, he was taking chances and he was pushing his nose into places that I had never seen before.
I remember him taking the lead down the back straightaway. I remember, watching him enter 3 above the lap car. I remember watching the lap car move up.
I'd text my dad, Bryan took the lead, and I'd put my phone down over here.
Oh, and we got a wheel boost.
Clauson right in the wall, and BC went over again.
A big impact.
You lose sight of the cars that's coming down the bank from where I was standing, but then, you go, well, that wasn't that bad, and then you hear the hit and the explosion sound that it made, and you knew, something was wrong.
When you're around it enough, there aren't very many that hit you quick like that, so you just have an awful feeling right away that you don't get very often.
I could feel it. I knew in that moment that, this is not good.
I remember everybody being huddled around, off of 4 there. And then...
I'll never forget when I got to the car, Tim was looking at Bryan. Bryan opened his eyes and then shut him again. And I remember Tim just yelling at the ambulance, please get the ambulance here. And he was screaming at the top of his lungs. So I knew it was bad.
So they ended up sending him to Bryan Trauma Center in Lincoln, Nebraska, which was about a 2-hour drive for us. Of course, we got pulled over twice on the way, trying to get there. Both times, fortunately, we explained the situation, and the first officer had radioed ahead, cut him some slack, escort him the best you can, which the first one did.
One of our family friends called and said, hey, Bryan was involved in a wreck. It was really bad. They're taking him to the hospital. And I just completely felt like I was going to pass out. I was feeling so helpless in that moment.
When we got to the hospital, they put us in a room. The trauma nurse came in and she's like, your son's very ill. He has a serious brain injury. Still at that point, we didn't know what that all meant.
I knew that best case scenario was life-changing.
So they came to us about 3 in the morning when they moved us up into another room, and then they actually brought in all the doctors, cardiologist, neurosurgeon, when he said basically there's no hope.
Sat there and, told us, the chances of your son surviving is 0. And I just remember, crying, and I didn't know how we were going to go past that day and what we were going to do.
3 in the morning, I wake up to a phone call, and I was laying in my bedroom, so I walked in my closet and picked up the phone, and it was my mom, and she said, Bryan is not going to survive. And I just lost it. Then I had to wake up the next morning and get on an airplane to a brother that I would not get to say goodbye to, or to tell him that I loved him or that I was sorry or any of those things.
I can remember Tim asking me to come in and, you know, telling me that he wasn't going to come back. I hadn't really gone through a loss at all either in my life at that point. Saddest part was... Sorry. Call my dad. Since lost my dad, so... those are probably my two closest guys that I, you know, every day talked about.
Yeah. Yeah, what a time.
Lauren remembered that she had his wallet and she was going through his wallet and he had a heart on his driver's license. And that's when...
And we had asked what does this mean in his case? And it was in that moment that kind of changed everything.
We, as a family, never really talked about it, but knew that Bryan put that on his license for a reason. We couldn't not honor that.
I had been in to see him and came out and said, unfortunately, we're going to be here another 72 hours. And I said, no, I'm not. I was in a place where I wanted to remember Bryan as we rolled out that night. And she's like, Timmy, you have to go see him because it's our Bryan. And thank God I did, because we went in and the way they treated him for those 72 hours to get his body healthy as they could, it allowed us to almost go through a bit of a grieving process.
Having that space to be able to spend the time with him that I needed to be able to say goodbye, it meant everything to me and to my family.
We were just able to really sit back and reflect on Bryan the person. Here we are in the worst moment of our life, and he's giving. And he's giving to 5 different families.
It healed me to the point where I'm not convinced if I'd even be here today. There's 30 people there with us. We get to the last hour where we know that they're going to take Bryan and they've got all of his organs placed, and we invite them all in, as crazy as it sounds. And we're like, we've said our goodbyes. We want to give you guys that same chance if you want to. In the moment that we were saying goodbye to Bryan, we all had to have the understanding that there were 5 other families that were surrounding their loved ones in that exact moment, celebrating this gift that Bryan was about to give them.
Those 72 hours, I wouldn't trade for the world. So my first thought was, oh my God, what am I going to do? To the best 3 days of my life.
I think what sustains us sometimes is the mythology that only those who might not be in the top 1, 5, 10, 15, or 20% are the ones who can suffer that fate. But the reality is it's not true. You know, it's an inherently dangerous sport.
There were times where people would pass, and that's kind of when we'd have those conversations. And probably the biggest one we had was when we lost Jason Leffler. And for whatever reason, that one hit Bryan differently. And on the way home, I made the comment to Bryan that, you know, we don't have to go race tomorrow. And he went into a pretty deep conversation on, you know, look, you know, Jason died the way, quite honestly, anybody who drives a race car would want to die doing something we love. Dad, because you're a racer, I'm a racer. It's what we do. Heaven forbid if something happens to you, Dad, I'm going to keep racing. If something happens to me, I would want you to go. I know you couldn't survive without this sport. I would want you to continue racing. I said, okay, well, if you write your own exit plan, what would that be? He goes, oh, that's easy. He goes, leading Belleville. He goes, when you're leading Belleville for that moment in time, no matter what else is going on in the racing world, whether you're leading lap 1, 10, or lap 40, you are the baddest ass race car driver in the world. There's nobody better than you. So if it happened when I was leading Belleville, I would forever be.
Tyler got something cool today.
I said yes. Damn straight.
Tyler's groomsman.
Boom, baby. I've gotten 2 yeses, one from the bride, one from a groomsman. Doing good. I wish I could tell Tim and them now, and even Bryan, like, after those days, I tried to chase an emotion that I was never going to get again. And nothing against the people I raced with after that. I tried so hard to have that same feeling, and could never find it. And so then that's kind of where the me not racing anymore kind of lies. Like, I'm not blaming it by any means. It's my own choice, but it's wild, you know, how much time doesn't heal. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't, it might make things easier, but it never heals it. I feel like I remember, you know, 14, 15, and 16, you know what I mean? Like, it's just wild. I remember so much about those and nothing about the present day, you know? I guess it shows how much something means to you.
You know, after Bryan's accident, we went to Knoxville. We talked about it in the hospital, and we all decided we wanted to go to Knoxville. That was where we wanted to be. You know, it's where my dogs were. I wanted to get back to them.
Yeah, the next 2 days were tough. I remember the press conference.
Last night, the 7th of August, we said goodbye to our son, fiance, and friend, Bryan Clauson. He was surrounded by family and friends, and we were grateful that we could experience his final moments with him.
All the emotions hit me. Just everything hit me.
No, it's just emptiness that you feel when you lose a friend. It's just all there is to it.
I mean, it just felt like we lost our way because there was only one Bryan Clauson, and the other guys knew that. They know when someone really sort of is the tide that lifts all boats, and he was that.
I remember we're like, okay, we're gonna work the t-shirt trailer, and we're gonna do this for Lauren and Tim and Di.
I had a text from Blake Anderson, and it was a video of the line at the t-shirt trailer, and people were from the t-shirt trailer, I mean, all the way like to the edge of the road and then some.
Hundreds of people at 10 o'clock in the morning lined up.
In the wake of his passing, to see how it had touched so many other people, it was a great thing, you know, and I didn't realize that when Bryan was with us, how his presence influenced so many people.
On behalf of the O'Connor family, the Kokomo Speedway staff and community, we are truly, truly honored to host a celebration of life in honor of Bryan Clauson.
We're going to love Bryan forever, and we're going to talk about him forever.
The biggest thing that helped me after the fact and after Bryan's accident was just the racing community in general. That week was more healing than anything else could have been.
It made it easier to have all of us around that were so close with him, and and watch everyone come together.
We're all heartbroken and devastated. And then we realize, we have a race. We got to keep on going.
Night number 1 of the 2016 Kokomo Smackdown to Kevin Thomas Jr.
You know, it's an honor to be able to first person to be back here in his honor. You know, it's
Racing's what we do. It knocks you a little bit off your moorings, but you're not going to get off of the horse. So we knew we had to all soldier on.
This one's for the Clauson family. We're really missing Bryan. We love you guys. We're gonna miss him. We parked it for him.
Yeah, hold a second. Didn't think I was in a crew.
I've been around racing enough to know that this is part of the game. This happens. But this one was particularly hard.
When I realized and they began talking about Bryan's a donor, and you know he's donating his organs to help other people, for me that somehow eased so much of the pain. You know, I still felt this terrible loss, terrible emptiness, but yet there was this love, I guess, for lack of a better word, that I felt for him and his gift to other people. This was Bryan, even though he's not with us anymore, still making his presence known.
Just the thought that Bryan's out there still doing great things in a different perspective now makes me really happy.
Are you? It's not every day that someone dies for you and you continue to live because of the sacrifice he made.
The thought that my son's heart can keep him alive for more years, it's just incredible to think of.
Bryan didn't just save Dan's life. He saved so many people's lives because Dan has touched the lives of so many because he's still here. I just had this sense of relief knowing that this tragedy that so many people would feel would have some sort of meaning attached to it. I kind of, I'm just staring out into space. I get a notification on my phone that there's a job opening. So I open it and it says Indiana Donor Network is hiring.
And she's like, I just got this email, Mom. And she read it to me. And I'm like, for God's sakes, he's already at it.
I didn't want this negative thing that happened to be Bryan's legacy. I didn't want it to be Bryan Clauson, who died in a racing accident, and then that's it. I wanted it to be Bryan Clauson, who tragically died in a racing accident, was able to save the lives of so many people.
You know, the whole Driven to Save Lives piece of it, when we lost Bryan, there was this groundswell of people wanting to do something. And so we said, well, let's create a website where people can, register to be an organ donor. Within an hour, we're at 200. Within 2 hours, we're at 500. Within 2 days, we're at 1,000.
It was a wave of signups when they formed Driven to Save Lives, and Taylor was tied in with his sister, and she was really behind it and became, in my view, kind of the face of it.
Can I see the heart on your license? There you are. I get to travel around the country and talk about Bryan and my experience with donation and get race fans to sign up. Hey, do you want to spend? Yeah.
The way this Driven to Save Lives campaign has grown and the passion that she shows every day. Her dad and I are so proud of her. She has to think about her brother every day. And, she doesn't get a break from it.
We appreciate you being an organ donor. One of my biggest fears after Bryan died was the day that people stopped talking about him. And so I've made it my life to make sure that never happens.
Well, race fans, welcome aboard the final night of the Driven to Save Lives BC 39 here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Bryan Clauson meant a lot to this place, but certainly meant more to the entire motorsport community. And then unfortunately losing him was difficult for everybody. And what we didn't know was the legacy that he was going to leave behind through the donor network and the things that he made a commitment to that I don't think anybody in his family even knew.
It's Tuesday evening. We're out here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and pretty cool day. They actually built a dirt track out here in honor of Tony.
Tony Stewart retiring. How do you celebrate Tony Stewart? We had a chance to talk to Bryan a little bit about what to do, and that's how that track came about. We put it together, and 6 or 7 cars showed up. Tony came in, and it was time to have a little fun. And it looked like something that you would have built in your backyard, right? But it wasn't really until I saw cars running on it that I thought, you know what? This is something that maybe we could do. Let's have the first race, and whoever wins gets to take all the money home. Went and said something to Bryan about it. He said, the first race at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in a midget, all of us are going to want to win, and we're going to do everything we can to do that, and it's not going to turn out good. We need to do this the right way. Here's a guy, of all guys, who should want to go run this race. He's worried about it, and he's right.
What's more nerve-wracking? Your first laps on the dirt track or your first laps on the big track?
First laps on the big track.
You looked a little nervous, though.
But that's when we really started walking around and pointing things out, and he was saying, here's how the track should work. That's what really was the beginning of, we really can do this, because Bryan's right. If we're going to do it, let's do it right.
They did end up building the dirt track at IMS. Of course, the event they wanted to run was a big midget race, and Doug felt that because, essentially it was Bryan's idea to do this, that they wanted to honor him by it being the BC 39.
It's like this little oasis of true gritty dirt track racers over inside IMS. It's just wild.
That track is amazing. It is the perfect midget track, I think. Just the racing is so exciting.
It races incredible. Here the corners are tight enough, it chalks up your entries to where guys are slowing down, and it opens up a lot of opportunities to make different things work.
His fingerprints are everywhere around here, and one of the crown jewel midget races of the year, probably the most prestigious, honestly.
Got to think, BC smiles every time he sees a midget out on the dirt track, thinking like, okay, they're playing on my playground.
Out ahead of him. He hustles down into the corner, right on the back bumper of the 71 car. Down the back straightaway for the final time.
And he'll take the checkered flag.
At the BC 39. Put that one into the books for JG Justin Grant.
It always seems like there's a story to be had with who wins this thing. There's always a connection, and I knew Justin when he was 5 years old. In fact, I handed him his very first trophy he ever won in a race car. And so to get to share that tonight with him, I know what this means to him.
I mean, it makes me feel really, really good. It makes me, reflect on a lot of getting here and racing with Bryan over the years, and it stirs up a whole lot of different things. It's a moment shared among so many people and for a handful of different reasons, and it's just you really get a sense of how much bigger all of this is than you.
A little bit of Bryan's spirit lives here. I certainly think on BC 39 weekend that Bryan's spirit is here, because that is really why that racetrack's here. But what's more special, I think, about that is the fact that we now have a race with an unbelievable meaning, a race that's helping his legacy live, not his racing legacy, but what he did outside of the race car that's made such a huge difference.
I'm a guy that loves the sport and loves coming to work every day. What better job in the world to get up every day and go race sprint cars?
He was so proud and humbled to have the job that he had. And he truly meant it when he said he had the coolest job in the world. And he wanted to do what he could to leave his impact on the sport.
It was just a human being that did things right. Everything that was good in the world was Bryan. It's cliche, but that larger than life deal, truthfully, for me, he was larger than life.
He wasn't just a race driver. He was a man, and he was a man that we could relate to. Everything he did drew people to him. He made you feel special because he spent time with you.
Bringing people together was one of my favorite things about him, and just impacting lives. He had a knack for it, and most don't. He did. It's Bryan. It's just Bryan.
The organ donation is like the up front of it, but like the underlying part of that is you don't have to wait for the situation to drop in your lap to do what you should do. You can kind of get out in front of it and do what's right.
Off of turn number 4, the NOS Energy Drink, Clauson Marshall Racing 7BC, Tyler Courtney is an all-star winner.
I think we've done everything the right way, and the successes definitely followed along with it. We try our best here to represent Bryan and embrace what he stood for, and also win races.
How did we get from the darkest day of our life to this wonderful place we're at and the success we're having? I feel like we have a little angel over us.
I think that he has his hand in all of this. Whether he's up there pulling strings or he's sending signs and grasshoppers to hop on us at the right second,
we feel him all the time. His legacy's still carrying on. We're really, really proud of that.
His legacy wasn't ever going to be just driving the race car or just winning USAC championships or, as it came to be being a Hall of Fame sprint car driver. But I think it speaks more to the way that he was respected as a person as much as a race car driver.
Eventually, the history books fade, and so who he was as a person off the racetrack and his decision to save lives is his legacy.
What do you think, Bryan? A little relief?
Grab that sign. Yeah, absolutely. It's a long 7 days, man.
It's a long week, dude.
Long nights, but pretty cool feeling to come out on top.
Yeah.
He's all right, bud.
I got it, buddy.
Get an exclusive list of names here, buddy. I think that'll sink in tomorrow.
Pretty humbling, man. It's, maybe someday I'll belong there.
Congrats again.
Thank you.
Blooper reel.
Saturday, race number 13. Talk to you guys over there.
Stewart, what are you eating? Stop. Oh my goodness. That is a trash can. All right, and on that note, we're going to bed. We stopped at Taco John's and Bryan is highly upset with me.
Not happy. I'm very angry. She forgot my churro.
He ate 2 tacos and then said, okay, I'll have my churro now. And I went, oops, I forgot to order it.
Probably Tyler didn't forget the motor. The churro is what drives me. I just forgot it.
Not true. You don't eat churros very often.
I eat it every time we go to Del Taco or Taco Jones, except for this time.
Well, not this time. No churros for Bryan today.
How many races you running, Kenny?
this year?
Well, Brian, I believe me and my Toyota car, we're going to run about 71 races throughout the Midwest, including these Winter Nationals.
71?
Yeah, 71, 73.
That's only like a quarter-time job.
Hi, guys. It's raining.
What do you think,
That's
Dale?
Bryan Clauson. Yes, it is. Yeah. Am I on film?
Dang it.
Double dang it.
It's almost midnight. We just got back to the hotel after the races.
Like 4th or 5th hotel of the week. I finally forgot what room we were in.
So we're at the front desk dealing with Matt, and he's doing his job very nicely. But we're trying to figure out what room we're in. So, yeah, kind of funny. Don't know if this happens to other people or not. Found it.
Found it.